Welcome to Living the Smarter Science of Slim, where we provide a scientifically proven lifestyle for long-term health and fat loss by eating more and exercising less, but smarter.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that. Hi everybody, welcome to Living the Smarter Science of Slim. I'm Carrie Brown and I'm here with Jonathan Bailor.
Woo! and this one, we actually got one of our wonderful participants in the Smarter Science of Slim support group asked 5 really wonderful questions, and instead of just typing out answers, I wanted to get Carrie here in the studio, and I wanted us to answer these wonderful questions. So thank you. SANE Pizza is the alias of this contributor. So wonderful questions here. The first question was, which concept of traditional weight loss did you find the most difficult to dispel? And I think this one was directed towards me in terms of just while writing and while talking about the Smarter Science of Slim, what is the most challenging thing to that we're up against, I guess. And without thinking about this too much, I would definitely have to say the idea, just the concept of calories. And that really is, I realize that's not really a great answer because that's everything the Smarter Science of Slim is about. But you know, my new book that's coming out in January of 2014 is called The Calorie Myth. And the reason we decided on that title was there's this calorie myth. In fact, there's 3 of them. We talk about, we need to manually regulate calories in and calories out, that a calorie is a calorie, and that calories are all that matters, so we can eat whatever we want as long as we don't eat too many calories, right? This is what we hear from all, food processors out there. It's a 100-calorie snack pack. It's only 100 calories, so it's fine. And the solution to those calorie myths is the Smarter Science of Slim. So really, to give the quicker answer, dispelling the notion of calories, I think, is really an overarching goal here, because when you think about it, we don't eat calories. We don't think in terms of calories. Hell, no one knew what a calorie was until about 20 years ago, and we kept ourselves perfectly slim and perfectly healthy without that knowledge. In fact, the more we've become focused on calories, instead of thinking about food, the heavier and the sicker we've gotten. So I would say the concept in traditional weight loss that I continue to find the most difficult to dispel is that we need to think about calories. We don't. We need to think about food. And once we think about food and we continue to eat food, and I'm going to define food as something that you can eat directly from nature, calories take care of themselves and our body manages them for us. Make sense?
Makes perfect sense to me.
So, and I mean, Carrie, let me rephrase this question for you. When you were getting familiarized with the Smarter Science of Slim, which traditional concept was the hardest for you to let go of, or maybe you haven't let go of yet?
I must admit that not to go against anything you've just said, because you obviously studied it, but for me, I never worried about calories.
Well, you're the exception, right? I mean, calorie counting is the de facto.
I didn't know why I thought it was stupid, but I always thought it was stupid. But so when I talk to people, I find the thing that they balk most at is when I say, fat-free is bad, we love fat. Or when I talk about, I just ate whatever. Or I say, I get through half a pound of butter a week, and people are just really freaked out about the amount of fat I eat.
Yep.
And they really struggle with, and the focus seems to be more on fat than sugar. It's that fat is bad, fat is bad, fat is bad. That's where I've found the most, when people push back on me, when we're talking about it, it's the fat thing.
But for you personally, I understand that wasn't a challenge for you. Like you embraced eating more fat and it healed you.
Yes, but I have to say mentally, I still have to. You still have that cognitive dissonance. No, low fat is bad. No, low fat. No. Although I'm eating, I still mentally, when I go to the store and I'll see something, or when I'm faced with a choice, my automatic reaction tends to be the low fat, and then I'm like, no, we love fat. Well, we love healthy fat. So.
And that actually, I think as humans, we have this tendency to polarize. And I don't think you intended to do this just now, but you said low fat is bad. And let's just look at a simple example. The Smarter Science of Slim is really about eating nutrient-dense foods.
Right.
So ensuring we eat the most nutrients possible. So let's say that we have a food, we have two versions of it that are completely identical, except one has less fat than the other one. Good example of this is Greek yogurt. So we have plain Greek yogurt, we have full-fat Greek yogurt, and we have non-fat Greek yogurt. Mathematically, the non-fat Greek yogurt is more nutrient-dense than the full-fat Greek yogurt.
Because the fat's missing.
Because the fat's missing.
Right.
And I often will enjoy non-fat or fat-free Greek yogurt, and because I want to get my fat from super healthy sources of fat, such as coconut or cocoa or things like that. So even though the Smarter Science of Slim is all about not fearing fats, it's very easy to then, again, the answer is not all fat is bad. The answer is also not all fat all the time is good.
Yeah, I'm talking about, when I said that, I was talking about the common misconception.
Like Starbursts are low fat, therefore they're good for you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But and it's funny though, because we swing in one direction too far, and then we swing back in the other direction almost too far. And it's just kind of funny how human nature works that way. Because that is probably the area I've gotten the most flack about, is the fact that I don't just come right out and say, eat all the fat you want all the time, always, which is somewhat ironic because the people who criticize me for doing that are the people who only eat grass-fed meat, for example. So they don't say, eat meat all the time, always. They say only eat certain kinds of meat, only eat the highest quality of meats. That's the same thing we say about fats. It's focused on high quality fat. So it sounds like for you, just the not fearing fat and sort of eating foods that naturally contain fat was the biggest hurdle, both for you intellectually and as well as to communicate to others.
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, the other thing is the exercise. It still really freaks me out.
That's a good point.
That I can exercise for a minute and be so exhausted.
That's actually, I'm going to second you on that one.
It still does my head in that exercising for 10 minutes a week is more effective at burning fat than the 7 miles a day I used to cycle. And I know it's true, but it's like when you're looking at something and your brain's telling you something different.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's true because I've experienced it, but it doesn't make sense in my brain.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to add up. And I will second that. In terms of, my answer of calories was when I described to other people what is the most challenging. But in terms of my mind, I literally did not accept the science. And when I say accept, I mean live my life according to it, probably for 3 years. Like, I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but I went from exercising 5 to 6 days a week to 4 to 5 days a week to 3 to 4 days a week. Like, I wasn't able to just say, nope, one eccentric. And in fact, I seriously injured myself during that time period doing traditional exercise. I actually ended up tearing my left pec doing standard form of exercise. And that was one of the things that set me over the edge and just said, getting injured as you get older is not something you just get over. So getting injured is one of the quickest ways to sabotage all health and fitness efforts.
Right.
So at that point, I had to scale back. And what I found is that in scaling back, nothing bad happened. In fact, good things happened. So, I would like to think that I would have naturally gotten there, but it's just kind of funny that it took the traditional approach seriously hurting me for me to give the smarter approach a chance. And I'm the one who did the research.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it still freaks me out.
Yep. All right. So that was question 1 from Sane Pizza. Question 2 is, what are the less sane, or dare I say insane foods that were the hardest for you to change? And Carrie, do you want to answer this one first? So for you, what are the hardest things to give up or change in terms of eating?
Bread. Yeah.
And have you found substitutions there, or is it just kind of like a cold turkey?
Well, and you can all throw rotten tomatoes at me if you like, but the bread in America is so horrible compared to the bread in Europe that it wasn't.
It wasn't that hard to give up.
It wasn't as hard as it would have been if I'd been living back in England. It would have been a lot harder. And I guess along with that would be pasta, would be the traditional starchy carbohydrates, would be bread. And the thing now, when I have and I've written about this on my blog, so I'm not coming out the closet entirely right at this moment because I've already written about it, but I still have, when I have like once every 7 weeks, I'll just have this crazy day where I'll just like, I'll go to the store and I'll buy a Sun-made cinnamon raisin loaf, and I will eat the entire thing in one sitting.
Yep.
And then I go, what in the world was I thinking? And then I feel absolutely hideous physically for a day.
Yep.
And then, you know, I drink lots of green smoothies and eat soup and it's all good again. But that's bread is my thing.
Fascinating. Well, and this question I really appreciate, actually, because I'm going to answer it in two ways. One is, so I don't like exercising, and I think people, and I know, Carrie, you can empathize with me there, but I burnt myself out when I was younger exercising, so I really do not enjoy exercising, and a lot of people think that's odd, but where I personally like to geek out is with dietary stuff. Like, I love using food and refining my eating to change the way I look and feel. So in terms of giving things up, I've been eating differently, not necessarily sanely, but just on this path for over 15 years at this time. So I mean, I'm pretty able to manipulate my diet. But I'll tell you, the one thing that I thought about this more, that recently, when I say recently, I mean over the past 5 years rather than over the past 15 years, that's been the hardest for me is, for the longest period of time in my life, you know, I was really seeking to like bulk up. And I was eating a traditional, more starch-centric diet, and I was consuming, like I felt the need to continuously be eating just all the time, till I was uncomfortably full. And I found that when I switched to a more sane way of eating, I got fuller faster, much faster, and I still felt like I needed to continue to eat though.
So you missed the actual physical eating.
Yeah, that's a good, yes. I was so conditioned to eating, and I actually noticed this.
So it's like giving up smoking. You had to do something with your hands.
No, that's exact, and especially at night. Like, I've found that I've made this mental shift from there's hunger because you're hungry, and then there's hunger out of like habit almost. Like, oh, it's
something to
do. And I've been fascinated, as I say, like, am I really hungry? Or am I just eating because for so long in my life, I went out of my way to constantly eat so that I could ideally build muscle mass? That, I mean, I don't know how many calories I'm consuming now, nor do I care, because my answer to question one, but I think it's a half to a third. Bear in mind that I was eating like 6,000 calories a day. And that has just been a weird transition for me.
I have to mention, because you brought it up, so this is your fault when you start trying to blame me. But I think there's a whole ton of our lovely listeners out there who are going to say they feel exactly the same, but emotionally, is that they eat for their emotions, and it's become a habit. So for you, it was like you felt like to be bulky, you had to eat all the time. There's a lot of people.
Not to be bulky, to be muscular.
To be muscular, whatever the term is. That I've had a lot of people email me and write on my blog about, please cover emotional eating. Please tell me you're going to cover that, because that's my biggest pain point is, you know, what do I fill that void up if I'm not eating? What do I do with that?
I would say that, so just to quickly delineate between what I was doing and emotional eating, like my problem, and I actually didn't say this, so I should have said this, is that I would try to consume as much food as I used to consume from sane sources, and it actually gave me, like, I had stomach problems. Because it was just the volume of food and the nutrient density. Like, you physically can't eat 6,000 calories a day from sane sources. And that's not true. I mean, you could technically, with like coconuts, you could use natural fats to very easily consume that many calories. But
not if you're keeping it a third.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're trying to eat 10,000 calories a day, I can show you how to do that very easily using coconut. But point being, if you don't go and do crazy things, it's not going to happen. And if you try to do it, it's very uncomfortable. So don't do it. So I was like eating till I was uncomfortable, and that was weird. So anyway, emotional eating is, I mean, I think we all eat emotionally. I eat emotionally. I have a horrendous or good sweet tooth, however you want to describe it. I try to find sane ways to indulge that. I personally don't think we should fight it, because I think that's a losing battle. And I think it's very natural for people to seek comfort in food. I don't think this is something that's new to our generation. Well, I would suspect that this has happened since forever. But that if we were to get home from work, be really, really stressed, and enjoy some of the sane dishes that we have and eat them until we are completely satisfied. And actually, Carrie, I can add a little science here. Studies have shown consistently that chocolate is the single most craved food in the world, especially for women. And the thing that people crave about chocolate is not actually chocolate, it's the cocoa. And if we can find ways to use cocoa or cacao in sane fashion, which we've talked about on the show and we continue to blog about, there's no reason to give up emotional eating. It's just do sane emotional eating.
Right.
My personal opinion.
I'd like to stop my craving for sun-made cinnamon raisin bread, and I'm sure at some point I will. But I tell you, and almost for sure women who are listening to this will know what it's like to be just obsessed with, you know, and nothing work. You can't concentrate on anything until you get what it is you're after. I'm hoping that that'll go away. Just from my experience is, you know, my craving for chocolate, like I have a chocolate craving, nothing else. You know, I could eat sugar, I could eat candy, I could eat a cherry pie. I'd still have the craving for chocolate. I don't think it will ever go away. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Carrie, I don't want it to go away. Right. Like when I sit down, it doesn't have to. That's I know, and it doesn't. But it also brings me immense joy when I mean, okay, hunger is the best sauce, right? Like so craving is also the best sauce. So if we can, you know, we all need a little bit of guilty physical pleasure in our life. You know, none of us are just. I mean, maybe there's some monk somewhere who's completely above all sort of physical pleasure, but I think as long as we can be sane about it, I mean, for example, there are other physical pleasures which can be done intelligently and safely and not as safely. So I think the key thing is not necessarily to say we all have to live a life of abstinence forever, but rather to say, let's be conscious and let's be deliberate about how we sort of enjoy the physical. Let's be intelligent about how we enjoy the physical pleasures of life, just like we tell people to do when it comes to other areas. So yes. So, and I will work on making you some more chocolate saneness. Well, my recent concoction is just, I think I'm actually going to have it for dinner tonight. I'm just going to have chocolate protein pudding for dinner tonight because I just love it and it makes me happy and it's so sane. So anyway, so that's question 2. Question 3, actually, I think we kind of covered, which is what are insane treats or cheats that you occasionally allow, if any? Carrie, would you like to take the first stab at that one? Oh, I think you've already mentioned it. So I've already mentioned the mountain of raisin bread. But that's not my treat or cheat. That's my crazy, that's that, which is different. And I don't do that very often, but when I do, boy, do I do it properly. But insane treats or cheats, I would say, where am I now? What do I go for? Really, I've been quite good. Well, I think it's because of the substitutions you found. I mean, it's the same kind of thing for me, where I don't... So I think the key... Because, you know, you only just told me this question now, so I'm thinking on the fly. I'm trying to get you on the spot here. But I think the key thing I want to say is, he's motioning me, do not bang on the table. That when you eat, or my experience has been that when you switch to a sane lifestyle, the cravings go away. Yep. Absolutely. And so I don't really treat or cheat a lot because I no longer feel the need to. And actually, the thought of eating a cupcake anymore just makes me want to gag. I don't want that stuff. So I have these crazy days where I need to eat a whole loaf of sun-made raisin bread. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't really struggle with that anymore. Well, and it makes sense. I mean, something I'll talk about a bit more in the next book is sugar addiction, which has been proven. Overall, food addiction is not nearly as clear, but sugar, specifically caloric sweeteners, has been shown to be addictive. And when we think about other addictive substances, right, a lot of the reasons, I mean, when you stop smoking, you just straight up stop smoking. And if you stop smoking for long enough, you don't really crave nicotine anymore. I mean, that's the definition of breaking the addiction. So, I mean, Carrie, I already struggle or continue to struggle with even the messaging about the Smarter Science of Slim. And I don't think there's a right answer because I think it depends on, you know, each person genetically there's like addictive personalities and non-addictive personalities. And for some people, going cold turkey, like literally going completely sane,
is the only way this is going to work for them. Carrie, you're an example, because otherwise, you know, smoking one cigarette a day just makes you want to smoke more cigarettes.
I'm all or nothing.
Yep.
I can't. But for me, what I want people to understand, that my experience was that, but it wasn't hard, because I found when I eat sane, I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm reading this question and it says, you know, what are the insane treats or treats that you occasionally allow? Well, it's not, and that makes it me to sound like, you know, is this hard, rigid thing that I'm following? My experience is it's not like that at all. So it's not a question of allowing. I don't kind of go, okay, if I stick to this for a week, on Saturday I'm going to go out and eat X. Because I'm going to allow myself. It has not been like that for me at all.
I couldn't agree with you more, Carrie. And I think that's really the key, though, is substitutions. Like in a traditional, like a couple things I crave. So I crave chocolate, and I crave rich, fatty. I've actually noticed saturated fat. Like I can eat chia seeds and flax seeds till my stomach is bursting, but I will not have this psychological satisfaction that I would get from like egg yolks or coconut or cocoa. So saturated fats. So when I crave saturated fats, I enjoy coconut, I enjoy cocoa in mass, and I don't, again, it's like you said, I'm not cheating. Many diets would consider that to be a cheat, but this isn't really a diet. It's just a framework by which you make decisions. And if you crave X, just find sane ways to do X. And if you like this treat, let's find sane substitutions for that. So it's not, again, like you said so perfectly, it's not, I'm going to have a cheat day. You could have a cheat day, but what a lot of people, excuse me, you and me included, have found is that you don't need to cheat when you don't feel like you're depriving yourself in the first place.
Right. But again, when I go, you know, if someone invites me out for breakfast on the weekend, which is breakfast is my favorite meal to eat out, you know, once in a while, I will eat whatever I fancy. And I don't worry about it, because I eat sane the rest of the week. I know that it's not going to have any impact. So it's not, even then when I do something, you know, insane, if I'm out at a restaurant and I choose to, you know, eat insanely, I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel, you know, any of that guilt or anything, because I know I'm going to go back to eating sane for the rest of the week, and it's all good. So I don't have that check and balance like you would do with most diets.
Well, and the good news is with the biological underpinnings of that. I mean, that's not just you rationalizing, right? Like we've talked about, the body is designed to automatically balance itself out. And if we reduce our set point down, as we will if we go sane, these little deviations don't matter, right? Just like if you put a little bit of hair in the sink occasionally, it doesn't get clogged. It's the chronic and continual consumption. So you don't need to worry about it even from a biological perspective either, which is great.
Right. And for me, knowing that intellectually helps me to put that into practice, that I know that I'm, you know, a lot less clogged than I used to be. So eating, you know, one meal that's a bit insane is not going to make a difference.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And one other thing I'll add is, I think a useful way to think about a sane lifestyle is a little bit like you would think of a vegetarian or kosher or halal lifestyle, where, you know, a vegetarian doesn't feel the need to treat themselves or to cheat by eating a steak. And someone who is strict kosher or halal isn't like, man, on Tuesdays, I'm going to eat bacon. Because it's deeper than just food for them.
Right.
Like it means something to them. And I think if we really embrace the sort of spirit of our body is such an important vessel, and the food we put inside of ourselves, if we really internalize how intimate of an action that really is. I mean, look at how much we scrutinize pills. But what we eat all day, every day, I think when we put that on the pedestal it deserves to be on, and we see how it permeates in literally every area of our life, at least that's how I've internalized it, you don't want to cheat, you know? You just don't want to.
Right. But I also think that, you know, denial is the bane of every other diet out there, is that denial never works. We know that. We know that denying ourselves something is the road to to failure. We've seen that a million times over.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's move on to question 4, which is, what are the biggest changes to our personal diets since we started to understand the smarter science of slim concepts, and how do we sort of eat now versus how we ate before then? So I'll answer this one first. For me, the biggest change is easily my consumption of non-starchy vegetables. I hated non-starchy vegetables. I probably ate first of all, if I wasn't eating out, I wouldn't eat any non-starchy vegetables. Like, I would never buy and prepare non-starchy vegetables ever.
Very sad, Bailor.
Unless they were served to me, I did not consume them. So, but now I consume, by and large, the bulk of my diet from a volume perspective is easily non-starchy vegetables. I probably consume, and mind you, I'm a relatively large person. I consume between 15 and 20 servings of non-starchy vegetables a day, easily. Most of which are in smoothie form. And I love them now. Like, if I went to Mexico recently with my wife, all-inclusive vacation, and I was craving my greens, so I was like, I need some vegetables.
Yeah, you think Bailor's hardcore. I took my blender on vacation with me. He left his at home.
Yes, I couldn't get it through customs. But yeah, so the biggest change for me is ease. Like, I've always, not always, but since I can remember, since high school, I've gone out of my way to consume more protein because I've been into, having muscles and things like that. And obviously the elimination of starch was a big thing, but truly it's the vegetables. What about you, Carrie?
Opposite. I've been a veggie girl. I love veggies. You'll read that on my blog. All these strange vegetables I'm making you eat.
Yep. Leeks.
But leeks everywhere. I think I have quite a few leek converts now, which makes me very happy. But for me, it is the increase in protein. That was the by far the biggest change. But I have to say that also had the most dramatic results in terms of changing my body, was the increase in protein. The results were just mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Just mind-blowing.
It's funny because I actually found the same thing. So the thing that was interesting, so assume I have this baseline of protein already going. What I noticed is that, so basically I've got the protein, check. What I did is I traded starch for non-starchy vegetables. And again, like, just being completely transparent here, prior to the Smarter Science of Slim, I've done, this is why, like, I have quite a bit of scientific experience, but I also have a lot of personal experience. I've been in the natural bodybuilding world for quite some time. And I tried every freaking pill, powder, besides steroids. Like, if it was legal, I've tried it. And all of that done. And I'm talking extreme workouts, working out for 20 plus hours a week. When I eliminated all sugar, well, it wasn't even elimination of all sugar because I was still eating fruit at that time. Just elimination of starchy carbs and replacing them with a dramatic amount of vegetables. Like, my waist shrunk from 34 to 31 and a half inches while my weight and my strength stayed the same. And I was mind boggled. Like, my clothes didn't fit me anymore and I didn't change any, just exercising less. It was just so fascinating to me. And I think it had a lot to do with, like, water retention and bloating, but it was just, wow. It was just shocking, the aesthetic difference that led to. Yeah.
No, for me, it was I swapped protein in and swapped the starches out. Dramatic difference.
It's awesome. I love it. So the last question is pretty funny, and I love it, is what do your coworkers think of all the greens you eat? And Sane Pizza tells us here that his coworkers make fun of him mercilessly and wonder why he doesn't weigh 300 pounds from constantly eating.
So I get the same thing, like, how can you eat all that you eat and be slim? How does that work? Because I'm eating all the time. But also people come in my office and they'll look at my green smoothie and my whole cucumber that I'm munching on, and
I totally eat whole cucumbers.
And my
I love
bright
them.
Green leek soup and all this green. And they kind of walk
Christmas in here.
And I often get the comment, "You eat really healthy things, don't you?" To which my normal response is a big smile. And something along the lines of, yes, I'm really 105, but I only look 42. And they go, yeah, and you can see them thinking, and then they go away again. So that's how I deal with it.
That's cool.
I just make fun of it.
It's funny, reading this question actually made me think of a quote. This is geeky Jonathan coming out, or philosophical Jonathan coming out. So there's a German philosopher by the name of Arthur Schopenhauer. And he said that all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. And third is it is accepted as being self-evident. It's actually funny because this is how my experience at work truly worked out. So, I brought in my green smoothies, people laughed at me. Then I actually kept my blender at work because I would do some of the blending at work. And someone actually threw my blender away because they didn't like the sound of the blender. So passive aggressive, someone actually threw the blender away.
Rude.
So first I was ridiculed, then I was violently opposed. And now, as funny as it sounds, if you look on the 3rd floor of the building that I work and you open the refrigerator at any point in time, there's a lot more vegetables in it, and there's a lot of people have lost a lot of weight. A lot of people have seen, wonderful cardiac benefits. Diabetes medication have been reduced. Cholesterol has been dramatically improved. And I think it's really just about, like you said, it's never, we're not here to convert anyone. I think we're here to, again, just use another quote from another great teacher, Gandhi, who said, be the change we want to see in the world, which is just, people are gonna, anytime you do anything that's different, you're going to be mocked. I personally find the best way to respond is just to say something like thank you or to smile.
I just do something humorous.
Or just do something humorous.
I turn it into something funny and give them the widest smile I can, and they never know what to do with that.
Yeah, and if you keep it up for long enough, I promise you will change other people's lives while changing your own through the only way that anyone ever changes anyone else's life, and that's by them coming on their own to accept that what you're doing may actually be something good. You telling them to do it will never convince
well, you
them.
just have to, keep quiet and let them see the results.
Exactly.
And smile a lot.
Absolutely.
That's what I do.
It just speaks for itself. So
I have people in droves, friends who I don't necessarily, push this on them. If they see it on my Facebook, they see it on my Facebook. But I've had so many friends come to me and say, how do you eat all that stuff?
Yeah.
And stay the size you are? How are you losing weight? How come your waist is getting smaller? How does that work? So I now have a lot of people come to me and ask me, what are you doing? Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I love it. Well, SANE Pizza, I hope that was a good answering of your wonderful questions, and I really do appreciate it. If other people have more personal questions for us, obviously we get hundreds of questions in the support group already, which is wonderful, but feel free to send them over. We'll do the best we can to answer them, and again, please join us in the Smarter Science of Slim support group if you aren't already, because there's a lot of really awesome, sane folks there that can support you and also have great suggestions. So, Carrie, any closing comments?
Yes, because I'm just looking over your shoulder and I'm seeing the rest of the comments from SANE Pizza, and he's saying, I love cheddar cheese, and then a bit later he says, I love sharp cheddar cheese, and I'm like, SANE Pizza, you go, because I love sharp cheddar cheese too. And I eat sharp cheddar cheese, and it's wonderful. I just don't eat it all the time.
Well, in fact, and I think, hold on, this is a great moment to wrap up with what we said earlier about we don't have to give stuff up. We can treat ourselves. We can live a life which is enjoyable and sensual and indulge our senses, but we do it intelligently. Let me give a good example. Carrie, you created the zucchini. You created a potatoes au gratin SANE substitute, right?
Yes.
Using what?
Using zucchini and yellow squash and almonds and Parmesan cheese.
So and Parmesan, but it's cheesy and delicious,
yes.
right? So
yes,
here's an example.
Very delicious.
Perfect example. So you could have this fabulous meal, and you could have this giant serving of this cheesy, gooey, awesome thing.
Yes.
And you don't have to eat I'm just going to eat 2 cubes of cheese because that's 2 points.
You can eat the whole lot.
Eat the whole freaking thing, and that's what I think is funny, because oftentimes we can do things when we're following a sane lifestyle that are just completely off the table if you're not. Eating a bowl of chocolate goodness for dinner and being that was healthy for me.
Right.
You will never experience that and even if you ate quote unquote normally, you'd probably feel bad after doing that. Right. So you still wouldn't have that it's like finding a beautiful outfit. That's good, but when you find one that's on sale, and you get that 1-2 punch of satisfaction, man, I look good and I saved money. It's the same kind of thing. It's man, I look good and that was delicious.
There we go. But we're not saying you can eat just any old chocolate pudding.
Correct.
You have to eat a SANE chocolate pudding. You can find one on my blog.
And you can also find
vegetables
a better one on my blog. No, I'm just kidding. And no, Carrie's does have vegetables. Mine doesn't. So there you go. Carrie's is better.
Mine's saner than yours.
Okay, let's not have a my recipes can beat up your recipes competition because I will lose that one.
You have to let me win sometimes.
No, I will absolutely lose that one. There's no question. Well, again, thank you for the wonderful questions. And remember, folks, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. We'll see you soon. Wait, don't stop listening yet. If you like the podcast and if there's other ways we can help you, please join us in the Smarter Science of Slim support group, which is freely available at the Smarter Science of Slim website, smarterscienceofslim.com. There you'll find all kinds of free recipes and success stories and just all kinds of fun stuff like how to help your kids go sane and just great community content.
And just one last thing before you go, if you wouldn't mind heading over to iTunes and up onto Amazon.com and leaving us a review and then going over to Facebook and liking us, we would hugely appreciate it.